When car accidents occur, it's as if my mind goes on autopilot and I get activated into service and begin helping and know what to do even though I've never had any training. I even seem to be guided to the right place at the right time so that I'm at the location of a car accident, and recently I had a vision of an accident before it happened. I have witnessed or have been in close proximity to at least 20 accidents that I can remember, and many more that I don't remember because I didn't realize how strange it was until recently telling some of the stories to others. So now I'm starting to pay attention to any anomalies leading up to me being at an accident site. I'm not a cop, paramedic, or firefighter, just a normal person that works in the IT field living a normal middle-class life in the suburbs. I was driving my daughter home one day and a vision of a car accident appeared in my head at an intersection near where we live. I told my daughter that I was just thinking about the intersection and suggested to her that she avoid it when she is starting to drive. My wife was chaperoning for a church group and they decided to stop by a mini golf place to play and eat lunch. The mini golf place was right at the intersection that I had the vision about. Before this, I had no idea they would even be in this area. She texted me about 10 minutes after I had the vision to tell me where they were, and my daughter was pretty freaked out that we were just talking about the same intersection. We decided to reroute and go join them for lunch. We were just finishing the mini golf and getting ready to eat when I heard the sound of a car crash. I knew exactly what it was. I looked at everyone and told them I had to go and check it out. I ran over the hill and saw the crash scene right as I envisioned it about an hour before. I started coordinating things immediately and automatically. I asked a witness to call 911. I helped get people out of both cars. One of the drivers was bleeding, so I helped put pressure on the wound. The other driver was angry because it was the other person's fault, so I talked them down so that the situation didn't escalate. When the police and ambulance arrived, I asked 2 other people to help me direct traffic around the accident. One lane was blocked, so we kept traffic flowing to keep everyone safe by alternating cars through the intersection. When the firefighters showed up, they took over the traffic duties. I high-fived the other volunteers and went back to the mini golf place to finish eating lunch. One day I had an overwhelming feeling that I had to leave work early. I almost never leave early because I would always get stuck in traffic and not save any time. This particular time I got stuck in a traffic jam on a highway exit ramp and I heard a car making a horrendous noise. It lost its brakes on the ramp and went off the road onto the hillside and ended up on its side, against the hill. I immediately jumped out of my car and went to check on the driver. He told me he had lost his brakes and went up the hill to avoid hitting people and couldn't lift himself out of the car. He was 250 pounds plus, and I am only 190. I somehow lifted him up out of the car and onto the hillside. He then told me that he couldn't walk and needed his cane. So I went back to the car to get it for him. I waited and helped calm him down and made sure he was safe until the police showed up and took over. I then quietly got back into my car and just continued on my way home. The odd thing I remember was that there was at least 30 cars and 50 people that witnessed me doing this, yet not a single one of them got out of their car to help. I didn't think that was strange at all until after I got home. 2 accidents that I witnessed had fatalities and there was nothing that we could do. I remember talking to a group of construction workers that desperately tried freeing one driver from the car and telling them that he was already dead, and that there was nothing they could do to save him. We all had tears in our eyes even though it was a complete stranger. Another memorable crash occurred about 50 yards away from a paramedic station, where a driver was run off the road into a telephone pole. I pulled over, ran over to the scene, told one person to dial 911, and grabbed another person by the shoulders and told him to run as fast as they can to the paramedic station and grab anyone you can. They just listened to me and ran up to get help. I then ran to the driver and got them to sit down. They were covered in blood, but none of the cuts were bad. She was a pizza delivery driver and was in a complete panic attack about how her car was dead. I just looked her in the eyes and told her the car isn't important and we need to make sure that she is okay. And asked her questions like what was her name, what day was it, does she know where she is at, etc. The paramedics quickly showed up and started treating her. Once again, I just walked back to my car and drove away. That was a long time ago, but I remember that I wasn't even supposed to be in that area that day. Something happened that had me change my schedule and drive on that road at that moment in time. But out of all of the accidents, my own accident is the most memorable one. I was on my way to go out and for some reason I decided to detour to my mother's house to pick something insignificant up that I could have gotten at any other time. While on the way, I followed an SUV through making a left-hand turn. They stopped in the middle of the turn, maybe due to a deer or some other obstacle, trapping me into the path of oncoming traffic. I went right to avoid hitting them, but a speeding car coming towards me clipped the rear tire of my car and sent me into a rollover. While rolling over, part of my car hit another car. I don't exactly know how. When the car settled, every airbag in the car had went off, and I couldn't see anything out of the windows. I had to kick at the door to get it to open. I then got out of the car and went around checking the people in the cars to make sure that they were all okay. When the paramedics showed up, they took a look at how damaged my car was and started yelling to find out what happened to the driver. I walked up to them and told them I was the driver of the car. They were really confused and said that I probably had an injury I couldn't feel, so they wanted me to get on the stretcher. I told them that I was perfectly fine. They insisted on taking me to the ER to be evaluated. After x-rays and other tests, I was cleared and had no injuries from the accident. The poor car was totaled. The craziest accident I helped with was when a couch fell off of the back of a trailer on a crowded highway during rush hour, right in front of me. I somehow swerved out of the way and the car behind me went right into the couch. It looked like a scene from a movie. The couch just exploded into a million pieces and everyone came skidding to a stop. Luckily, no one was hurt in that one, but once again, I got out in the middle of the highway and checked on everyone without giving safety a second thought. I can't explain how I end up at so many car accidents and seem to be helping people at the accident scene all the time, but it seems to happen at least once or twice every year. And before someone makes the suggestion, I'm not just a very bad driver causing all these accidents to happen. This was during the early 2000s. It was 3 a.m. and my host phone starts ringing. I stand up from the bed and start heading for the low dresser to answer it, and my wife gets up to go get the phone as well. By this time it is the 3rd ring and I remember thinking, crap, it's going to go to voicemail. The ringing stops. My cell phone starts ringing. I immediately change gears to, someone really needs to get a hold of me. I grab my phone, the caller ID is 000000000. I answer, hello? And a voice comes through the line as though it was a distant overseas call, peering through the static and asking, is this Joel? To which I reply, yes, who is this? Immediately it was as though those words, is this Joel, were being pulled back through the line. Echoing in reverse, there was static and the call dropped. Jump forward several years. I'm installing a phone system that we're joking around is so advanced that we could place calls back in time. I punch in my old phone number and call it, realizing that the number is still active and my wife might answer. I hang up and call my now-years-old retired phone number. Somebody answers. I freak out and ask, is this Joel? The voice on the other end of the line answers through space and time. Yes, who is this? At that instant, I immediately remember taking that call and I am struck dumb. I cannot speak without thinking. I reflexively press the hang-up button. I am now freaked out. I look over to my colleague who isn't as freaked out as I am. From his perspective, I called a number and someone with the same name answered. But he realized that was my voice on the other end of the line. I told him, I got that call. It was 5 years ago, but I got that call. Then we both freak out. I hit redial and get a message that the number is no longer in service. I call my home number back and my wife answers. I tell her I'm testing a phone system and ask if she has had any previous calls. Nope, none. I'm kind of freaking out, but with her on speakerphone, I ask her, hey, do you remember that 3 a.m. phone call we got all those years back? Yes. Where I asked, is this Joel? And the line went dead? Yes. I'm now just looking at my colleague with my wife still on speakerphone. Do you remember what year that was? It was before we had kids, so it would have had to have been 2002 timeframe. I don't know how to say this. I'm pretty sure that was me that called. As a child, my parents always introduced me to everyone that ever came to our house. I was taught to shake hands and say, hi, my name. What is yours? This was a rule that could not be broken. One night when I was 7, maybe 8, I had a bad dream about being old. I went out to the living room to talk to my dad, who always used to play with Legos with me when I had a bad dream. This time, we got the Legos out, but there was a man in a chair. I went to introduce myself, and to my surprise, my dad shooed me away, got out my Legos, and proceeded to talk to the man instead of play with me. The man and my father talked for some time about things I don't understand and neither say a word to me. It was weird, but I was young and the Legos were fun, and eventually I forgot the whole thing and went to bed. Never thought about it again. Fast forward 12 years. I head to bed one night after having a beer or two with some friends and immediately start, from what I can tell, lucid dreaming. I've never had a dream this vivid since or before. In the dream, I am sitting in a chair talking to my dad about what I had done with my life. He is happier than usual and very interested. In the distance, I hear a young person calling for him. He gets up, walks out of the room, and returns a minute later with me as a child and a box of Legos. Young me approaches me. My dad shoos child me away. Young me goes and plays with the Legos. My dad and I commence talking about the danger of the butterfly effect and how everything could change if we spoke. He insists we wait until young me falls asleep to continue talking about the future. I then have 2 more similar dreams where I see myself from the perspective of mysterious forgotten people and situations. All with my father, all discussing time travel, my future life, and the consequences of changing things. I woke up absolutely convinced I had time traveled, or the ghost of Christmas past decided he wanted to take off a season shift. It took me a week to rationalize and still gives me the willies just typing it out. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know that some of you are quite fond of the Glitch in the Matrix stories, so I chose to do them for you. 2 things. I really need your opinion on the audio of the video, not this bit, sorry, but the actual stories, because this is the first video that I record with the new microphone, so I need to know if I need to change any settings or things like that. So if you guys could let me know, that would be great. And second, this is actually the 100th video on my channel, so hooray, here we are. And thank you all so much for spreading the word in regards to my channel. It really means a lot. We're at 785 today, I think, so that means a whole lot. I hope you're all having a good day, evening, whenever you're listening. Margbot out.